the union here in Sint Maarten. In the first place, one of our invitees is Mr. Stuart Johnson. Mr. Stuart Johnson, good evening.
Good evening, Doctor, and good evening, Sint Maarten.
Mr. Stuart Johnson is a very known person here in Sint Maarten. As we all know, Mr. Stuart Johnson attended the St. Dominic Primary School and the St. Dominic High School here in Sint Maarten. After that, Mr. Johnson attended the University of St. Maarten, where he obtained his associate's degree in general liberal arts and subsequently his bachelor degree in education as the first male to obtain that degree at the USM. Well, dear Stuart became the first and longest serving president of the USM Student Government Association. In 2011, Stuart also served a 2-year term as president of the St. Maarten Carnival Development Foundation. And after that, following in 2012, Stuart became the youngest and first male principal at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Primary School in Dutch Quarter. While serving as principal, he also served on the supervisory board of the directors of the Postal Service of St. Maarten. Stuart also successfully completed in 2015 his HBO degree in educational leadership. In 2019, he became the youngest Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transportation and Telecommunications, serving a successful 2-year tenure. Presently, he is once again principal at the Marie Geneviève de Wever Primary School, and recently he became the president of the WITU, the Windward Island Teachers Union. He is also a founder of the Rotary Club of St. Maarten Sunset and serves as chair of the Rotary Foundation. His latest accomplishment is becoming the 3rd vice president of the Caribbean Union of Teachers. Mr. Stuart, there's a lot you have in your CV, and because of that I'm proud to have you with us as a member of the Unified Resilient St. Maarten movement. As you all know, Mr. Stuart has his records of being very active in and involved in social developments in country St. Maarten. He has also a big political experience, even being a minister of the Ministry of Tiat. And now Mr. Stuart is part of the URSM, being a board member. Mr. Stuart, once more, we are very proud and thankful that you want to be part of our political movement. And for that, we want to thank you to be with us on board on a movement that tries to make St. Maarten better for tomorrow. Next to Mr. Stuart, we have, of course, the police officer, Mr. Rogerel Mauricia, a very respectable police officer in country St. Maarten for years. As we know, Mr. Mauricia did his police education in Curaçao, and in 1995 he came to St. Maarten to serve as a police officer the people of St. Maarten. I think going on, he became in love. He was in love with country St. Maarten, and he decided that he wanted to stay here and continue serving the people of this great country. In 2018, Mr. Mauricia became the president of the union of the NAPB. Mr. Mauricia has an extensive experience when it stands for the benefits of the workers in the police force, the immigration and custom. Mr. Mauricia, welcome to our program.
Thank you, Doc. Good evening to radio listener. It's a pleasure for me to be here tonight to enlighten you about being a president from a union.
Mr. Stuart and Mr. Mauricia, once more welcome to this informative session of our radio program, You Are St. Maarten. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Stuart. Mr. Stuart, many people in this country think that the union's activity is actually to support a strike when there is a disunion between the employers and the employee. And I think it's good for you to give an elucidation on your daily activities as a union leader so people can understand what the meaning and the significance is of a union for the workers on the work field?
Well, Doc, I first of all want to again acknowledge the listenership out there and extend my heartfelt appreciation to everybody who has listened and who will listen to this subsequent radio broadcast and this particular program being You Are Sint Maarten. What does that mean in terms of an individual? That means that this program is a birth of us as a nation and as individuals, of who we are, who we can be, and who we are in the community as examples for many others to follow. As you read over the biography of both of us, it would be remiss of me not to say that all what has been said, in particular for unionism and for the roles we have played, it's about shattering that highest glass ceiling, allowing others, other young persons, other persons in the community to have these opportunities here on Sint Maarten. They don't need to go to the US, they don't need to go to the Netherlands, they don't need to go to another Caribbean island. All of that is possible here, whether you're male or female, whether you're black or white, whether you're born here or born to be here. Once Sint Maarten is deep in your heart, for me, you are a Sint Maartener. Once the well-being and welfare of a Sint Maarten nation is your core belief, then you are a Sint Maartener. So You Are Sint Maarten is a very core program, and I think going forward to not only address unionism, but who we are as a people. And it would be remiss of me not to elaborate further in that role unionism plays. The role a union plays, and in particular WITU, is to uphold workers' rights, ensuring that the fundamentals in not only education, but the rights afforded onto a worker, in unison with our labor laws and our collective labor agreements, be they may with a company or an individual, that those are upheld. We have seen time and time again where that is tested. We'll delve into that later on in the conversation. But of course, a typical day, especially now becoming a newly elected union leader, one is an opportunity of endless possibilities. I want to open doors of opportunities for our members going forward, allowing them not to only have operational hours for a union, but I have told my members that I'm available for them 24/7 whenever there is a need and the need arises. A typical day for my person as a union leader involves writing letters for persons, assisting them with their grievances, of advising them on the way forward, and of course sifting through the operational functioning of the WITU. The WITU over 27 and a half years has a pillar of strength in which we're going to continue to grow from. That pillar of strength is of paramount importance in the times we are in. I have sought very recently legal support. Our legal support is now Miss Cindy, who is a well-known lawyer on the island. Miss Cindy is a well-known lawyer known to the union, so I wanted to single her out in particular because already we have received this afternoon a rendering of some points that I have that I'll also discuss later on in the program in our conversation in terms of what we need to uphold in country Sint Maarten. And I say country Sint Maarten not as the catchphrase, because you really don't say country USA, don't say country Netherlands, but as the catchphrase that we use here locally. And with that being said, a typical day for me would be, again, making sure that all what we have fought for before is upheld and fight for even newer rights. And that is to hold the government accountable, to hold even our membership accountable, because if we want to exhibit and embody professionalism, then that must come from within. If we are, as a union, going to speak on an issue, any issue in particular, a workers' rights, then the worker must make sure when they go into a meeting, into an event, that they are standing on the foundation that is there for them within their rights. It makes no sense going into a situation where the worker is already at a disadvantage, having not discussed, prepped the employee or the member in going into that situation. So that is all part of the preliminary work that leads up to instance for a meeting. We make sure that we check off all the boxes. We make sure we keep in contact with the person. We followed up if there are any relevant paperwork or supporting documentation that there is a contact leading up to that situation. There's contact with our brothers and sisters throughout the region. I've already scheduled next week, Tuesday, for instance, a meeting with one of the unions on Curacao. I've already had several meetings with other unions throughout the region. I just came back from a week-long conference of the Caribbean Union of Teachers. There's where Sint Maarten, as you elucidated at the ending of my bio, received a golden opportunity. We are now poised in one of the top executive roles of the Caribbean Union of Teachers. That is a big step for our union. When I look at our sister unions in the region that has a membership of over 1,300 members, we only have about 300 to hold one of the top 3 spots on the executive board. It's a big step. We are going to be in charge of all sporting events, cultural events, well-being of the Caribbean Union of Teachers affiliates, and that is allowing opportunity for our students, our members, and also to set the bar on Sint Maarten that we take unionism seriously. We take upholding workers' rights up seriously, and we're going to not accept any more intolerance in that manner.
Oh. So a lot is being said here, Mr. Johnson, about all your activities as a union leader from the WITU. How many members do you have now in the WITU, Mr. Johnson?
Well, currently we have about 300, and just recently I was very successful in getting another school board added to our membership. That is the Charlotte Brookson Academy. For the first time, added about 8 more members. In total, we have about, since my tenure as president, about 20 new members have joined. I'm not stopping there. Until I am no longer president, I will continue to recruit members because I believe in numbers there is strength, and a union strength is only as strong as its members. A president is not the most important person in the union. For me, it's the members. So the stronger we are as members, the stronger we bind together, the more of an influence I can have as its president with the support of the board and by extension all.
Okay. Mr. Mauricia, there are of course a lot of challenges going on in general in the society of Sint Maarten, but also in your Department of Justice concerning the Customs Department, the Immigration Department and the Police Department. Are there specific topics now, issues now that you from the union as president from the NAPB are working now on at this particular moment?
Thank you, Doc. Indeed, the popular topic is, since 2020 coming up to now is our function book. And not only the function book from the police, but to be realistic, the function book from the police actually is one of the top prio for all government that had sat before my tenure until now. And solely now I still have to be acknowledged that our honorable minister has been doing and pushing, knowing all, like we said, all the pressure that she encountered when taking office about the priority to establish a function book for the police and to therefore stop the people in Sint Maarten who is paying our salary, stop them from suffering. That means that any day past that our function book is not in place and our people is not put in the rightful salary and sale and put in the function, it brings a financial burden to this country where we know already that it's already in a very precarious situation. But nevertheless, we could have heard from since last year that, like we said, the animosity from our honourable minister that the function book had been approved and signed. Nevertheless, NAPB, therefore, on the 22nd from December, react surprisingly, and we busy monitoring now that progress from that approval and sign from that function book in order to bring some relief for our members and some also relief and tension in their performance, because that function book, if you're not in their shoes, you will not believe how they feel.
Of course. And Mr. Mauricia, at the end of the day, if you have a happy police force, you have a functional and a good police system for a country. So we have to take care of our police force, of our immigration, and of course of our customs, because we want a balanced community that safeguard, for example, our safety.
Indeed.
And
And-
if I may add, if we look at our frontline workers, our police officers, our immigration officers, our teachers, over a year ago when we were shut down, there was a pandemic, everybody remembered those persons. Everybody praised nurses, they praised the police who are going out there battling a hidden warfare that we did not see with our eye but was prevalent
Correct.
in our country. And now we are still having to subject these persons to measures that take away the human aspect, where they have their bills to pay, they have their morale as a person in the front line that also is very important in being a driving force in moving this country forward. That we take away that part of their only sort of remuneration, their benefit, the basics. I mean, I wonder if there's any compassion left and when persons come up with these measures. And if you have to execute the measures, like I've said to them even in the last week or week and a half, I had a meeting with members of the Council of Ministers, be creative. We are in the 21st century.
Yes.
You are put there with a mandate by the people to serve, and you want to focus on a stable situation, then at least be creative while we weather through this storm as a nation. You want our people to be patient. You want our people to be resilient. You want our people to give. But it cannot be business as usual for the government and the expenditures of government. But you see where the basic rights and needs of workers are not being upheld, and you expect us just to accept it, and as unions just go along for going along's sake with no end date in sight, no finalization in action points. It basically becomes intolerable, and at a certain point even your members will say, listen guys, hello, we have to do something, and
Yes.
that is where both of
Correct.
us are at.
And
Correct.
to look back, as it is, every time that we need a police force, we need the teachers, they're
Yeah,
standing
they're there.
ready for us.
Ready.
And now we have to think on their benefits, stand on their sides, and all of a sudden now we are doing difficult with them, and I think that is unacceptable.
Schools didn't close, the police station didn't close.
Close, the-
COVID or not, we went,
We
whether we
were.
were on skeleton crew, where there was 10 children in
The
a
nurses
class.
in the hospital,
Yep,
not to
correct,
forget.
Correct.
Of
correct.
Yeah,
course,
the
of
nurses,
course, of
everybody
course.
went through. Those are the front line that we have to safeguard.
But Mr. Mauricia, as you know, the URSM stands for make it happen for this function book to become a reality, as you said, and it is very nice of you to say that, of course, there is a good intention of the minister sitting now to see if she can realize this function book. But to come back to this function book, Mr. Mauricia, this function book consists of three chapters. One is the formation plan, the other one is the rechtspositie, as it's in Dutch, or the legal position, and the third one is the salary scale.
Correct.
If you see the difficult move of this function book to make it happen, we spoke about 3 chapters of this function book. What in your eyes is the most difficult one to overwin, to realize this function book? Because if there's something I dream of, and you know that too from the URSM, you know that too because you are part of the URSM too, and you have one dream to realize this function book for the Justice Department of Country Sint Maarten in your vision and eyes, with all goodwill of the minister at this particular moment. What in your eyes is the most challenging part to realize this function book?
To me, Doc, let me just put it this way. To me, all 3 part is very important because don't forget we have the Voortgangscommissie, which is the progress committee that we had consisting from locals, expert locals here and from Dutch. They already had foresee 4 countries in Maarten how much officers needed in order to have a good defense here for the island, let me put it that way, because the police force and other frontliners can be used as a defense here for the country. The amount is very important, and there are some issues here and there that the amount wish to reach there is not getting there as yet, because we have people that have difficult, with the Dutch language, which is also one of those voorwaarden that you need in order to qualify. You need to be a Dutch, and most people do not like the job from police. And I believe it's because of advertising that job also in schools, preparatory schools, of going to high schools to prepare young career days to show them the good from the job. And third and not least, the last one is the salary scale, which a good officer have to be paid very good to be avoid get himself or herself in problem in, like we say, getting by corruption. So that is actually the intention from the Voortgangscommissie, Progress Committee, to make that police force that way. And they already had seen that the police force salary was a big issue. It's too low for the cost of living here in Sint Maarten.
Actually, Mr. Mauricia, this functiebook discussion has been going since the initiation of Country Sint Maarten in 10-10-10. You agree with me?
Correct.
So we are going on with this fight, with this functiebook already for 11 years. I do believe, as leader of the URSM, that the time is there, of course, for us to start moving this functiebook to make it a reality and to acknowledge the people that has been standing for us day and night, safeguarding our security in this community. And I think it's a task of the government, whoever it may be, that we will have to give the necessary attention to this functiebook to realize it for Country Sint Maarten. Further, Mr. Stuart, I have a question for you. I'm very concerned not only about the educational programs of Sint Maarten, the vision on education, but I'm very concerned and worried also about the accommodation of the schools in Sint Maarten. As a union leader, you guys of course see that. Are you also involved in trying to improve the infrastructure and the accommodation of the schools for the kids of Sint Maarten?
The quality of education deeply concerns me in many capacities, not only as union leader, but directly in the front line as a school manager and being directly in the school system in itself. As a union leader, what I want to start negotiating is a CLA with the respective school boards. What does that collective labor agreement do? And it's nothing new within the kingdom, as the kingdom itself, as the Netherlands itself has it, but it'll be new for Sint Maarten, will be to negotiate working conditions. What does different policies look like within the working environment? And part of that is, of course, what we're seeing very prevalent in our educational system is that teachers are being demanded to function optimally, but you're not giving me the tools and the equipment to work with on that level. Mm-hmm. If you want me to work at 100%, put me in a classroom that I do not see the sky falling from above me, where I do not have water by my feet, where when I turn on the pipe, that is soap to wash my hands, where I go to the restroom, there is things for me to use, and there's books for my children to write in, there's a pen or pencil provided. That is the type of things we need to address. So for me, the quality of education and ensuring that all the necessary resources and support is afforded onto teachers, frontline workers in particular as well, that is there for them to use. So yes, we are going to be a very loud voice in that, because if I look at the new priorities that I'm hearing coming out of the government, it is not about fixing schools. It's more about a photo opportunity with certain mini projects, while roofs are still not fixed within schools, while offices are still leaking, while gymnasiums are still not fixed, but they're looking at other components just for a quick win. It is no longer about the low-lying fruit in getting a quick win for a campaign season that may be forthcoming, but what is necessary is if you truly invest properly in education, you will definitely raise the bar in our country and truly propel this economy where it needs to go.
Mr. Johnson, as you say, the future of this country is in hands of the next generation, and the next generation is only dependent on education, so we will have to be very serious with our education of our country to make this country a great autonomous country in the nearby future. Mr. Mauricia and Mr. Stuart Johnson, unfortunately we have to go for a break and we will be back in a few minutes. Welcome, people of Sint Maarten. Welcome to our second half of our radio show, You Are Sint Maarten. As you know, we have two invitees here in our program today. The first one is Mr. Rogerel Mauricia. He is the president of the NAPB, the Nederlands-Antilliaanse Politiebond, the Union of Immigration, Customs and Police Force. And also we have with us Mr. Stuart Johnson, being the union leader of the WITU, the Windward Island Teacher Union. Mr. Mauricia, just now I forgot to ask you because Mr. Johnson said that they have approximately 320 members as member of their union. How many members do you have in the NAPB?
Well, NAPB right now, if I can recall, we have, like we say, more than 220 something members. It can be more. There's still the drive in order to recruit, and I believe that once we pull up this function book for everybody, I believe the trust will come in to other members because they sitting and waiting to see if this also can be done, and I believe by then we can increase our membership more than that. There is a drive seriously by the NAPB in order to get members because NAPB, just like everybody know, also would like to be a member in the, like we say, in the GEWA. Here they call it CCSU, to be represented, so we can have also the right to bargain for our members, and because at this moment we are not, and sometimes we do have to depend on signature from other unions that are members in the CCSU in order to get things done.
Okay. So actually, it's a big group of people being member of this NAPB.
Correct.
And if I may add, Doc, we have already supported and spoken about the support for NAPB to become a member of the CCSU. WITU fully supports that. So Mr. Mauricia and I will continue to discuss how we can go about that for WITU. We are also changing our representatives. Currently, our former president is a member of the CCSU representing the WITU, and our substitute member is our current treasurer, Mr. Robert Rollins. In the beginning part of this year, a formal letter has been submitted to the Prime Minister for the ratification of that change. That change is very important going forward because there are things in the CCSU that are being discussed that I think need to be respective of the times. And the CCSU in its totality, I've already indicated to the chair, must reflect the reality and the composition of civil servant bodies that are there. And the NAPB must be, in my opinion, a member of the CCSU. So going forward, not only are we here on the program together, but there are several initiatives together that we want to undertake collectively as two union leaders.
So there is a great collaboration between the WITU and the NAPB too.
Let me just elaborate on Mr. Stuart and that, and Doc. Indeed, when I became president in 2018, before that I had 15 years already in the union, which is the NAPB. I was a Congress member for back then the Netherlands Antilles, and since then I have been, admire and talk a lot with Sister Claire, who was then the president of WITU.
Mrs. Elshot, you mean?
Yes, Mr. Elshot. And to be honest, she inspired me, and I told her that I will postulate myself and to be one day president from NAPB, and I would like her to guide me and in order to get the experience as a president. And so far up to now, NAPB do not have no issue. We always collaborate. We always exchange ideas and things with each other. So therefore, I would like to extend this to Mr. Johnson also for us to maintain that cooperation and with each other.
Yes,
union.
Yeah. And talking about Mrs. Elshot, Mr. Mauricia, I do have great respect for this lady. If you see what this person has done for the society of Sint Maarten, especially looking in the perspective of the unions, the contribution of this Mrs. Elshot has been so enormous for the labor market and the developments in a positive way for the people of Sint Maarten. Every time again when I see this lady, I have enormous respect for what she has done.
All
And
right.
actually, I'm thankful to her and grateful to everything that she has done for the people of this country concerning union labor issues for
Correct.
country Sint Maarten. It's a
Indeed,
great
indeed.
personality that we must not and cannot forget for country Sint Maarten. Another point, Mr. Mauricia, I'm very worried. As Mr. Stuart said in the beginning, when we need a policeman, he is there for us. So now that he needs us, we have to treat him good too. I
Indeed.
have a big concern. There is a big responsibility in the hands of the police force of Sint Maarten, but the responsibility can be executed if there is a great accommodation in logistics and infrastructure for the police force. As a citizen of this country, if I observe the police force of Sint Maarten, the intention, the obligation, the responsibility of the officer is great. But if I see the circumstances under which our Justice Department, especially our police force, has to function to guarantee us a certain safety in our country, I'm very worried as a citizen of this country observing the accommodation of the police force. Mr. Mauricia, what has to change in your vision for this police force to become a more significant apparatus to serve this country? What do you think should have to happen with the accommodation of the police force?
Doc, that's a very, very on point and good question to pose to me, because this answer had already been delivered to the management team of the police force, to various ministers that sat there, and let me just put the function book aside, which is the issue, but let me focus on housing. Number one, the location, our house, which is the police station where we daily does be there, is since 2017, after Irma, to me in deplorable state. If you see, the whole infrastructure of the police force in 2017 have been destroyed, not damaged, destroyed. Here and there, they patch where they need to patch, they paint where they need to paint, but that building, number one, is in deplorable states, in and out, because from out you can see how the paint fade away for years. That building, I don't think it can withstand any other, God, forbid me, if any other storm hit Sint Maarten. And we use that building self to house our own, because when a storm is approaching the island, the request is that our police is leaving the house, leaving the family behind to be inside there, in order for when it passes, they are ready at the station in order to help people. Can you imagine that?
Of course.
That's number one. Leaving your house, your family, not knowing, while you inside there, they call you and tell you your roof gone and you have to come out from there, but you can't come out. That you have to be there. That's supposed to be housing us during a storm and after a storm. It have to remove. They have to look for another location in order to build a brand new station for us. There is no security there. If you pass in the night at that building, around that building, you will see a darkness. All the lights that was there before 2017 had gone.
Due to Irma?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They have a big, like we say, gate in the back there. They used to have open remotely. It's gone. They built one, a wooden one, and that you have to push manually with that heaviness, with all consequences that you can hurt your back, pushing that to open and close all the time. Many other things, a big stench inside there, coming probably from the, like we say, the bathrooms inside our building. If you enter, it's not customer friendly. Those type of things, I believe, is no time more to fix, no time to repair. That building have to come down and build a brand new building to house this police force.
Is there also a lack of more tools, instruments to work with by the police force? Would you like to see an improvement on that also?
Also, since 2015 is the last time I can say that police force of Sint Maarten had to receive equipment from our government, which is vehicles. During Irma, because of that magnitude of that storm, Holland pinched in and gave us some family vehicles in order to make them police vehicle. Yeah. It's not adequate. At this moment, to be honest with you, the garage that fix our vehicles are not taking none of them, because the government owe them so much money. Not even a bulb. When this go wrong, we cannot bring it to replace. You know, sometimes officers have to patch from their own pocket in order to fix a tire, you know, to put a plug. And those type of things. So if we need vehicles, we need vests, we need material in order to protect ourselves when they're outside there.
Of course, yeah.
Doc, if I may, you know, you have to wonder what is the mindset or the thinking with our persons who are representing us in government now. I mean, how many work visits does it take? I mean, some persons in the political world have even visited and spent a few days at the station. And you have to wonder if they forgot what it is like in the station, in the police station in particular. And, you know, you have to wonder what more will it take to truly prioritize with an action plan these necessities. This is not a wish list what the police are asking.
Primordial.
This is not a wish list that teachers are asking. This is not a wish list that the nurses are asking. These are the basic fundamental things that are necessary to just deal with the day-to-day necessities. You as a doctor know in the hospital of the need of the nurses.
Course,
you hear their cry every day.
Of course.
And you have to ask yourself how much more. And all what we hear at the back end of it is pay more, pay more. But if you pay more and you see the same or you see the lack of, then you really have to wonder, is there the tag word that is used, corruption? Where is the money going?
Yeah.
Why is it, for instance, taking so long for a hospital to be built? Why is it taking so long for the airport to be finished?
It has to do with priorities
Correct.
of government too.
Correct.
And Mr. Mauricia, we are not even talking about the condition of our prison, not to forget our people that are in prison, but also those that are working there to safeguard the prison of Country Sint Maarten.
And
So as Mr. Stuart says, if you look at the problems that we have in the justice in general, the police force, if you look at the immigration, if you look at the prison, there are so many challenges, and it's not big wishes that we have. It's just a cry just for us to make sure that the primary necessities that we need to be at place to guarantee the basics of that department for that to be
to function.
That is what we want.
And Doc, if you look at the prison in particular, there's former students that I have taught up there. This up at the prison is not people that come from wherever. These are our people. What measures are we putting in place for rehabilitation? What measures are we putting in place before they go there? Preventative in terms of preventing our youngsters from going there.
Yes.
It is very painful every day to see there are potential students of mine that will likely go there because the system is failing them. Our system is failing them for preventing them to go up there.
Yeah.
And you cry, you bawl, you plead, you ask for help, but you wonder if truly those that can flip the switch will turn on the switch of priorities to assist the cries of the public.
But you know, Stuart, I have hope. I see now that we have established this unified Resilient Sint Maarten movement. Just a representation of that movement sitting here. We have a respectable police officer on board with us in this URSM. We have a respectable man, a teacher, has extreme political experience, has been a minister of TIAT, sitting here with us on board of this URSM, trying now to make it happen for the nearby future of this country. I hope with this URSM that people will realize that we have a lot of experts now with us on board that are realizing from the police force with Mr. Mauricia, from the educational sector, from Mr. Johnson, from the union angle from Mauricia and Mr. Stuart, from the healthcare sector, from Dr. Mussolina, that are really people with knowledge that knows and realizes, acknowledge the cries of the people of this country and see that we can together make it happen for the nearby future. We are giving actually the people of Sint Maarten with this platform of the URSM a second chance for us to see if we can canalize the problems and try to solve them in a way that we can have a decent society in country Sint Maarten. That is all what we want.
Dr. If I may add, our people, and I want it to be a call of action, that our people actually listen, question, investigate. It is not what's on the surface sometimes that is the reality, but dig deeper. If something looks like gold and it's just glittering, it might not be gold, it might be just glitter. And that is what has been happening over the years. We see people who talk nice, or they give a nice presentation, or they help us for a certain cycle, but are we truly giving that person a fish, or am I going to teach that person to fish so they can feed their family time and time again? No more as a people do we have to go on a quick win or a quick opportunity. Our people need jobs. It's not about just giving me a $500 and we forget about it for another 5-6 years. It's about making sure that there's an economy that is viable, there's job creation, there's the necessities in the police department, there's the necessities in the hospital, necessities in education taken care of, to truly address and elevate the people of this country. Not just to come on and we talk about, young people and the police and the function book, and we go on again for another 3-4 years. That is no longer where we're at now as a country. We need to demand that those issues are addressed properly.
And first things first, combat the children diseases first in your community. Make sure that all pillars that are necessary to carry autonomous country is there first before we think about the next level and step for country Sint Maarten. And that is what the URSM wants to. Mr. Johnson, you know that. And Mr. Mauricia, I have also many discussions with you, especially about your passion and love for your police force. Like I have it too, because you are protecting my country. It's our country. I have also many discussions with Mr. Johnson about the education of this country. And I think together we have to hold each other's hands and try to, as Mr. Johnson said, don't promise people things, but just give priority to the basic necessities of this country that are not in place at this particular moment for this country. And that is what we have to work on. Mr. Johnson, I have still a question for you. What are your goals now as a recently being the new leader of the union of the WITU, the Windward Island Teacher Union? What are your goals for the nearby future in your sector?
It's time that we elevate unionism on Sint Maarten, that we allow our members to be proud of being a part of a union. We hit the ground running in the first 100 days by accomplishing the top 6 things. One was increase of the information to our members. We have a WhatsApp group, over close to 200 members instantly get a broadcast message that I send out. Subsequently to that, we had frequent meetings of different schools. That schedule is ongoing, meeting the different schools. The third point is increasing the membership. That has already been successful. The fourth was making the office facilities, our head office in Madame Estate, more inviting. We had an entire clean-out process. A complete rebirth of the office is ongoing. And the next is membership pins. I want our members, 300 strong, to wear proudly a membership pin, signifying not only that they're a part of WITU, but they represent unionism, upholding workers' rights. That will transcend throughout our country like never before. The teachers will then be recognized back to the level that they should be. Students then will start to show respect to the level that, for instance, my generation before me, your generation, knew. It's no longer about calling a person by their name, but it's either Mr. or Mrs. There's respect back in our country, and we're going to continue to chip away and make sure that every school board on Sint Maarten is represented in the WITU. I have one more school board to go. We've honored at the ending of last year Miss Elshot, a pillar of our WITU, with her recognition of 27 and a half years. I continue to pay homage to that and very appreciative that she's one of our closest and our advisor for the board and our former president, and we will continue to make sure that we safeguard that type of information, that type of support that we have going forward as a WITU, and elevate WITU with our brothers and sisters in the WITU, with NAPB, with our regional unions that we have a connection with now more than ever, and push unionism on Sint Maarten to the highest level possible.
Great, Mr. Johnson, you're an ambitious man for the country. That is what I like to see. And that is also the reason that I approached you to be part of this URSM, because we are in search of great people that are very passionate about country Sint Maarten and really want to work to elevate the level and the livelihood of this Sint Maarten. Mr. Mauricia, I have one more question for you. There is, of course, a big challenge to realize this functiebook. That is, of course, and I do believe that we should not play politics with this functiebook. It's not about promising people a functiebook, as recently has transpired that politicians have promised a lot, and afterward we realize that nothing happened. I find it a disgrace to the police men and women in this community to deal in this way with it. I realize that there is also this accommodation, that there is a big problem for the police force of Sint Maarten, that I think it's in the accommodation is crying. Something has to happen with the accommodation of our police force of our country, Sint Maarten. Is there anything else, Mr. Mauricia, that you think will be on your wish list for the police force, or for in general the justice, for the immigration, for the guards of the prison, for the custom department? Is there something that is big for you on your wish list that you would like to accomplish for that sector?
Yes, indeed, and this is also most probably the goal that I would like to achieve together with them. If that is their legally position, that is closing chapter for all justice worker, and not only police, immigration, but also I will take customer. I will take also the gevangenbewaarders there by the prison, all everybody in the justice chain, which is also by the national detective. There is. We want to close that gap that supposedly have to be prepared since 2008, when the country knew that in 2010 they will be separated from Nellis and Tilly's. Sint Maarten, according to me, was the only one who thought of, who believed that they can do this automatically, because we have the harbor, we have the airport, we have this, we will taking care of you all. And that it didn't happen. It didn't happen, and now we sit with this. But together with my members, I will truly hope that we can have a closing chapter in this, because the morality from all the justice workers, and believe me, it is low.
Of course.
It is low, and I'm afraid that that morality do not put them in a social, let me say, point that they cannot perform their duty anymore.
Adequate.
Because you can see now the social issue on Sint Maarten are already touching base. A lot of Sint Maarteners, people that we see that having mental issues, I don't want that to reach to my members. So that is actually my goal, my hope for us to have that chapter closed in order for we can continue to serve and protect this country.
Of course. Mr. Stuart, recently you have been in St. Kitts.
Yes.
What is your biggest achievement in your mission to St. Kitts for country Sint Maarten?
One of them, of course, is tapping into now the sports opportunities that is under my purview, under my responsibility as the third vice president of the Caribbean Union of Teachers. I also am on the steering committee of the psychological and general well-being of teachers in the Caribbean region. As Mr. Mauricia mentioned, teachers are also going through a mental weight in terms of the pandemic, COVID-19, and their general day-to-day responsibilities. So teachers need that support in terms of their grievances, their psychological and emotional feelings that they're going through. So we are going to establish a network throughout the region that they can call on their sisters and brothers in education to support them, special persons in the field that will be there as part of the network. And of course, going forward, that Sint Maarten taps into the untapped potential of sports. We can elevate sports on a different level with this new position that I've obtained in the region, and allow our youngsters to be a part of cricket tournaments throughout the region, relay races, you name it, as well as our teachers and our member affiliates throughout the region. It's a golden opportunity for the country, and it's time that Sint Maarten gets recognized on the world stage.
Well, unfortunately, we are reaching at the end of our radio program. I have to repeat that I'm very, very proud to have a police officer like Mr. Mauricia, Mauricia, not only a very respectable police officer in our community, but also the leader of the union of the NAPB, of the police force of Sint Maarten, that Mr. Rogerel is with us on board of the URSM, the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten movement. It makes me proud to see that we are able to gather knowledgeable, good experienced people to put our shoulders under the challenging projects to make this country a autonomous country in the nearby future, that it is on paper, but we still have to make it a reality for country Sint Maarten. Mr. Rogerel, really, I'm very proud of you as a police officer, and I want to make use as the leader of URSM to thank you for everything that you have done until now and will continue doing. Not only you, but all your colleagues in the police force of Sint Maarten, for although the fact, the circumstances, deplorable circumstances that they're working under, still show up every day to work to make our community a safe community for our people living in country Sint Maarten. I want to thank you once more for that, Mr. Mauricia, and thank you for being today here with us in our program. Another person that makes me proud that I have within our group is Mr. Johnson, Mr. Stuart, a very passionate man, very passionate with education and with the future of our country. Mr. Johnson is a person that is always ready to go an extra mile for his country, very knowledgeable, and also I have to repeat that I'm very proud to have Mr. Johnson with us on board to show the people of Sint Maarten that we can have a political movement with experienced, knowledgeable people that can carry the mandate of the people and execute to make it happen for this country. Once more, Mr. Johnson, thank you very, very much for what you're doing for the labor force on educational level for country Sint Maarten, and also what you're doing for the education as such for the people of Sint Maarten. Once more, thank you very much, and thank you also for being today in our program. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a very interesting interview I had with Mr. Rogerel Mauricia and also with Mr. Stuart Johnson, but unfortunately it went very fast. We are ending, and I would like to thank Mr. Mauricia once more and Mr. Johnson, and we are looking forward to our weekly program. Our next program will be next week Wednesday from 6 to 7, Radio Mix 94.7. A good evening to Sint Maarten.